Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is going to be awesome. So, you guys know I like acrylic as a platter mat material. You may also be aware that acrylic has been integrated into turntables in various different ways. There was a Victrola acrylic entry-level player several years ago. Back in 2022, Audio-Technica came out with a pretty pricey, I think it was like $1,200, turntable made out of a slab of solid acrylic. And now a new company has come out with a much more affordable unit that looks to be very, very similar. So this ought to be a lot of fun to check out. It's a turntable made of acrylic, completely see-through. Even the platter is acrylic. It's like a clear turntable. But is it any good? You're not going to want to miss this. So that brings us to this. This is the Audio Keeper acrylic turntable. And I'm excited to take a look because I love the idea of implementing acrylic when it comes to turntables. It does make a difference. This says ICE1. This says CAJW1. I'm not sure exactly what the model number is. On their website, it's just simply listed as acrylic turntable. This is a very heavy box, by the way. I noticed that when I picked it up. Much heavier than a regular turntable would be. And acrylic is heavy, so that makes sense. Okay, first look. So that'll be interesting. Oh, there's a retail box inside. I could have skipped a step. That's cool looking design there. Interesting. Well, let's get it out of the box, out of the box. Okay, so I guess ICE1 is the model number or the name of the product. It makes sense. Audio Keeper, there's a first look at it. Well, second look, because you saw the thumbnail. You can never really surprise people too much in a YouTube video, and if you try to, they won't watch. Like you'll say, if you put a big and I've done this before, big question mark, mystery record player review, they won't watch it. They want to know exactly what it is. You have to specifically declare what's going to happen in your video and then deliver upon it. Okay, so the first thing we've got here is our dust cover. It looks to be a clear dust cover. I'm going to set that down. Here's a lay of the land. It looks like a compartment in here. There's our user manual wrapped in plastic. We've got our power supply, a wall wart power supply. Audio cables. Looks like gold-plated RCAs. The cheapo 45 adapter. USB plug. Yeah, cool beans. And a belt. A flat belt. Back here we've got our counterbalance. And I think that's it for that piece. The rest just lifts out. Oh wait, we got a couple pieces front and back here, and then this lifts out to reveal the device. I think for most of us kids from the 80s, appreciating clear tech comes with the territory. And it's not prison tech to us. I mean, like, it was just cool to have clear stuff. Phones, you name it. They had pretty much everything available in clear. So I think that's why I like clear stuff. The fact that it's actually acoustically better as well is sort of an added bonus. Okay, what is this? Oh, that's gonna be the platter, and it's probably sandwiched with this cork mat, or they provide this as an alternative if you don't like to put your record right on the acrylic surface. I do prefer the acrylic surface directly. All the weight is right here. This thing is heavy, very, very heavy. Acrylic is a very dense plastic. It's notably dense, and it's usually made in sheets. So applications such as a flat dust cover, a flat platter or a flat turntable makes a whole lot of sense because they can just cut off a flat slice and adapt it and cut it for use. All right, let's get some of this plastic off here as easily and gently as possible. $400, by the way. That's the price of this. In fact, I even have a discount code they gave me for you guys. So if it tests good and I decide that it's a thumbs up, I will definitely share that with you. Look at this thing. I mean, that doesn't look like your average turntable, right? And it's also proof that there's not much in a turntable except for, you know, a small circuit board, a motor, and, you know, the wiring coming from the tone arm. It's mostly a hollow box in most cases. In this case, it's the opposite. It is a solid piece, a solid slice of acrylic. And that looks to be a good inch, maybe even a little more than an inch. I wonder how this will do with fingerprints. It's smooth. It's sharp on the corners. This is cool. I mean, it looks really pretty. It really, really does. Now, I have a suspicion there may be some plastic elements there painted to look metal. But even with that painted metal look and probably some real metal, I think it looks really sharp. Because you can see the foot top to bottom, it has to be finished on all sides there. So there's a little disc there that feels like metal, and then underneath is like a foam foot. We'll look at that in closer detail. And the foot extends about another 3/4 of an inch down. There's the main bearing. Spins freely. It doesn't have a whole lot of, it doesn't like just keep spinning and spinning, but it does spin freely. And then there's like a metal base as well. I'm sure there's a ball bearing under that. It's usually the way that's done. The motor. At first you're like, wow, that's a big motor. But I think it's the same JYK type, and it's kind of in this larger casing, which is fine. It looks cool. And I love how the cable run between the motor and the circuitry over here, there's like a little enclosure that makes it look slick rather than just bare wires running. It's got those nice L-shaped hinges that I like for the dust cover, and they're screwed directly into the acrylic material. Interesting that, I don't know, does acrylic crack easy? It must not crack too easy if they can drill right into it and drill holes in it for things like this motor. Another look at this enclosure back here. So that is a metal enclosure. And again, the cables run into it, and there'll be a circuit board in there. They've chosen not to make that visible. Speaking of the feet, there are three points of contact, which is good. That's the most stable way to do things. Let's look at this tone arm next. So, let's see. That is... Oh, tell me that's not a plastic tone arm. Oh, no. I think that's a plastic tone arm. This part is metal. Interesting. Usually this is metal and this part is plastic. Is that really plastic? I think that's well, no. No, that's metal. Okay, good. I was like, come on, don't be plastic. No, that is metal. It's like a brushed, probably aluminum. Head shell is definitely plastic, though. This is not a removable head shell, but it looks like the cartridge could be removed. And we got a nice rubber lift shelf, a cueing lever. Let me go ahead and unpackage the tone arm. Masking tape for the front. That's kind of odd, but it works. And this base down here, this is plastic painted silver. Little clip here. Let's check out the descend. Nice, gentle, fluid descend. And there's a screw right there on the piston. So it would be easy to open that up and remove or to add any lubrication or whatnot to it. Let's see this gimbal here. Is that a metal gimbal? That might be a metal gimbal, but there's a little bit of movement to it. Not too bad. Average. I don't see an anti-skate anywhere. There should be a knob right there, but there's not. So either it's preset at the factory or it just doesn't have that. Here's a closer look down in this region. Yeah, it looks slick. I like the design choices. Cueing lever is metal. You can see, the reflection of the bottom of that panel there because you've got that 1-inch gap down there. The fact that it's clear affords us the opportunity to look inside a bit. So I see like the micro switch and I see the wiring coming out. I don't really see any sort of anti-skip mechanism in there. It could be missing it, but usually there's a spring, but I do not see it in this case. Cartridge is going to be the venerable Audio-Technica 3600L with a carbon fiber cantilever. A very capable stereo cartridge. Sounds great. For a turntable in this range, I think that is completely appropriate. You can upgrade the cartridge. That being said, if the anti-skate is set at the factory, it's going to be set to this cartridge. So if it doesn't have the same physical dimensions and it is calibrated for this cartridge, that could throw things off. Okay, let's look at the back panel finally. We've got left to right, we've got the grounding terminal. So if you're using an external preamp, you can use that. It's got the left and right stereo outputs, the Bluetooth out / phono / line output switch, the USB jack, speed selector switch 33 or 45, auto stop on and off, a pitch adjust. Awesome. That's great. There's a pitch adjustment in the back, so we can set that perfectly. 9-volt power supply, 2 amp circuit, and then the actual power switch itself. And as you can see, the bottom of the enclosure is metal, so you can't really peek too much in there. There's the bottom of those feet. It's a metal protruding foot with a foam disc. And there's the bottom side of the main gimbal assembly. Again, you can peer in there a bit. I don't see any anti-skate spring. I do see a micro switch for the auto stop, but that's about it. Also, there's a look at the bottom of the bearing. Not a whole lot to see there. And that's essentially, I guess we can peek at the motor. You can see the motor chilling in its enclosure there. Okay, let's go ahead and put the platter on. Also, a sheet of acrylic. That's really interesting because it's beveled. Look at this. That is interesting. So to help, sort of a channel to help keep that belt in position there. I like that. I'm surprised that that is the case, but it's literally just a slice of acrylic. This looks to be about either a little over, maybe 5/8 inches. And they also include a cork mat. You know, so you don't see those included too often, but if you don't like to put your record directly on acrylic, I personally do. They give you the option of a cork mat, so that's cool. It obviously, the reason why you wouldn't want that is because it would destroy the clear aesthetic you got going on here. And acrylic is a great material for vinyl, as I've said earlier. Okay, it's tapered. This little hole is tapered, so there is a right way up. And look at that. You can see through the whole thing. One point that you may already be thinking is, shouldn't there be a divot here? Because a lot of records have a raised hub. So if you've got a record with a raised hub, then, and this is completely flat from the outside to the inside, then the record would be lifted up a little bit and therefore not sitting completely flat on the record player. In my experience, it usually doesn't make a difference. I haven't personally noticed that, even though, you know, in our head you would say, yeah, that's not ideal. I haven't noticed it make a difference, at least to me. And that's my experience with like the U-turn orbit that I've got with that same situation. Okay, some turntable platters with the acrylic do include a little cutout there. And if you use an acrylic platter mat, those often do as well. All right, time to put on the dust cover. Dust cover, I think, is probably made out of polycarbonate. I think that's the material. So that is slightly smoked. Somebody got after me and said, it's not smoked, it's tinted. Well, you know what I'm talking about. I think smoked is still an appropriate way to describe it. And we've got a cling wrap over the whole thing. Welcome to Record-ology, the only channel that doesn't get weird about removing film from things. All right, let's go ahead and try to get it off. That being said, this thing is clinging tight. And there it is. You have to admit, that thing is pretty. That looks really, really good. Doesn't that just look cool? Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That looks amazing. Now, as soon as you put a record on it, it's not going to be as clear, but that's so cool. Isn't that just good looking? And they're right. I think that having an exposed green circuit board or different colored wiring would ruin that pure, clear, and silver look that they get the way it's set up right here. I think that is darn pretty. But looks are one thing, sound is another. So let me get it connected and we'll test it out, and we'll most importantly give it a sound test. Gosh, this thing looks so good. Interesting they don't have a branding plate there. You can totally tell it was designed for one. There's like a little hole there, or a little nub, and an inset piece there. They should have their logo right there. I guess they chose to keep it clear for the whole clear thing. The dust cover, by the way, is a little bit off. It's hanging over on the right hand side just a hair, and that's kind of a bummer. That being said, it still looks beautiful. It's just gorgeous. These L-shaped hinges, they are just buttery. If you're, you know, used to the plastic ones like I am, once you get these metal hinges like this, they're just a premium item. It's a very nice touch. So I tried to set the tone arm counterbalance just with the regular method. And I couldn't quite back it out far enough to get it to its floating point. And so I thought rather than, goof around with it that way, that I would just set it manually. All right, that's about 3. I'm going to go ahead and err on the side of caution there. And yeah, so not a terribly difficult thing. And you can do it without the gauge, but some of these are a little more difficult to get that precise dial in that you want. Got the cords connected. I did spin the platter a couple of times. That belt, even in spite of that channel, worked itself down onto the lower lip. So let's have a look kind of parallel going, shooting this way and see if it lines up well with the pulley, which it should. And also we'll take a look at any possible platter, wobble down there as well. Okay, so it looks like the belt isn't on the right position of the pulley either. So let me reposition it. It looks like it's lined up right. I mean, it looks like this area is sort of parallel to that. So let me go ahead and turn it on again. Let me flip this on back here. And it should give it a couple rotations to settle in there. Okay, yeah, it's fine. I must have positioned that belt low on the pulley or something like that. Now, in terms of platter wobble, oops, there goes the lid. There's a little bit of platter wobble. Not too terribly much, but it is a tad bit of it. You can't really see it from up here, but what you can see is like this little imperfection in the edge of the platter itself. Or maybe it's the seam of the belt, some sort of something. It's so clear and so pure that any imperfection is going to stand out. There's some little characteristic in the platter or the belt that's making it, you can notice it. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. But yeah, there's a little bit of wobble. You can actually see the wobble from up here too. It's just a hair. It's not incredible. I don't think it'll impact anything. But yeah, something to be aware of as we go along. Keep in your mind, $400. I've seen it down to $359-ish as well, looking online. Okay, so this is interesting. It's the second time that dust cover has kind of crept down. It feels good and tight. Oh, I see. There's like a further setting. You push it back and it gets a little tighter. So that's why it was drifting down there. Okay, strobe warning. I'm killing the studio lights in real time. And I'm going to close the blinds where I get lots of free, gorgeous sunlight. And I've got the nasty overhead light on that, casts shadows and is orange, but it's actually preferable for setting this. So we're going to look at these 3 bands here, most specifically these 2. So we're going to start by looking at the bottom band, which is 33, and then the middle one, which is 45. We're going to start with 33, and those lines should be stationary, indicating correct speed. As you can see, they're marching a hair to the left, which means it's a hair fast, which is the way I like it. And let me flip it to 45, and we'll see how closely 45 is set. There's 45. That one is a hair slow. So I'm going to find the knob blindly back here and adjust it upright. Okay. So there's 45 set correctly, but the problem is now, once I go back down to 33, it's going to be way fast. So the speed between the two isn't calibrated right. I'm going to slow this down a hair until 33 is accurate. And you don't want to have to set the speed when you go between 33 and 45 every time. That being said, it's handy to know you can do it without having to open the device up. You know how I usually say sometimes full-size platters aren't quite full-size, and it makes it nice because you can easily grasp the record off? This platter is just a hair, maybe a millimeter larger than 12 inches, and I can't get this thing off. It's sitting on there so completely flat. Good grief, I literally can't get this disc off of here. Okay, there, finally got it. That was tricky. For music today, we'll be listening to Top Shelf by Laura Ainsworth, friend of the channel. I've got an autographed copy of this album. This is really, really good sort of pop standard big band vocal, and it'll be a lot of fun to use. And it's something different, something we haven't listened to in a while. I'll put a link to her stuff in the description down below if you're interested. So let's start with the Bluetooth out test. I'm going to use my M90 Mini. By the way, thanks for those that joined us on the live the other night. We had a lot of fun playing with that fortune-telling machine and just goofing off and talking about some of the new wave products. And we also unboxed a mystery record set, and that was a lot of fun too. Just had fun hanging out with you guys. Okay, first let's do a little bit of a functionality demonstration here. This is essentially a manual turntable. So it's not going to auto return, it's not going to auto start. It does have an auto stop that's switchable, so it's not a completely fully manual turntable. Those do exist. A lot of people comment on videos from time to time and they're like, there's no excuse for it not having an auto return. It's just not a common feature in new turntables. So right now it's set to auto stop, which also means sort of a semi-auto start, meaning that when you rotate the tone arm over, it starts spinning the platter. And then once the stylus reaches the end of the record, let me go ahead and place it in the lead out. Once it reaches the end of the record, it senses that and shuts off the rotation of the platter, as you can see right there. But you have to return it. The good news is if you fall asleep, that's always the example that people give. Although I don't think I've ever fallen asleep listening to a record. But if you do, you can be assured that the needle won't grind away all night. It'll just stop. Now, if I turn off the auto stop switch in the background, this thing will just spin on all the time unless I flip the power switch off. So I prefer this sort of semi-auto start and then auto stop functionality. So let me go ahead and flip it into Bluetooth pairing mode, and we'll test that out with this Bluetooth speaker. It's going to go into pairing mode. I am first going to turn on the turntable, and then I'm going to put this into Bluetooth mode, which will put it into pairing mode. And we should start hearing music immediately. There it goes. If they're not D-stem and dosers, they're financially in the red. Excellent. They're broad shouldered. And like I said, we'll do a direct feed sound test in a minute. So while I've got the Bluetooth connected, it's a good time to mention that this does aptX HD. So Bluetooth aptX HD is not lossless, but it's a good codec. It is a 48K sampling rate, and I believe the resolution is 24 bits. So it is a good high resolution codec, not quite lossless, but nearly so. And the USB resolution is CD quality. So it is 44.1K and 16-bit. All right, now let's do a direct feed sound test. I'm going to go ahead and get that hooked up now, and this is a headphone alert if you want to listen to the direct feed in the best way possible. Okay, very interesting. So playing with it, trying to, get the best sound out of it for your purposes of getting the direct feed and whatnot, I discovered that the output level of the line output using the built-in preamp was pretty low. Low enough, in fact, that I can actually record directly to my mic level input digital recorder, which is what I'm going to do. You always want to eliminate anything in between. So if I can eliminate a headphone amplifier in the circuit, that's a good thing. So keep in mind that this is the built-in preamp that comes with it. Sounds like it's a weak one. My initial, I'm going to reserve my opinions. I did give it a little cursory listen. I'm going to reserve that until you listen to it as well. Get your opinion in the comments. But yeah, so this is, it's just quiet enough that this can record it without distorting directly. So we're going to listen to the direct feed now. Skip through a few tracks.
I met a cloak and suitor, never was a suitor. I'd cry a minute when we have a date. Of course I'm never ready, but he loves to wait. That's the kind of guy I'd...
Okay, overall, I thought it sounded decent. It was a bit thin and a bit flat. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this sounds great to me, but it was adequate. It didn't sound bad. I was hoping for a little bit more oomph, but it is what it is. Also, I wanted to point out too, don't know if you could tell this by listening, but let me turn this up a bit. Let me actually put this on a different track here. But I don't know if you can see that. The left channel is a little louder than the right channel, and that's pretty consistent. So it doesn't seem to be balanced quite right. Now that may not be an audible difference, But if your system doesn't have a way to, you know, balance left and right, that may present itself as an issue. Overall, though, I thought that the sound was adequate. Overall, though, this is still very cool. It's a beautiful turntable. It's an adequate turntable. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. Absolutely fascinating. It looks gorgeous. Performance is adequate. I'll go ahead and put a link down below. And again, a 5% discount code from the manufacturer will be included down there as well. Mostly, I just want to say thank you for being there. Don't forget our merchandise that's available on our little merch shelf down below, our merch tab, our custom 45 and Seeberg adapters, and our membership program, which you are cordially invited to join. Just $1 a month, early access to some shows, exclusive content, etc., etc. Mostly just a big hearty thank you from us for being there and your help in supporting the channel. The most important thing you or anybody can do is just watching these shows, and for that, I thank you so, so very much. You guys are awesome. We've got some amazing content coming your way that you're not going to want to miss. But that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.